Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. So week 5 of the Three Rivers Pantry Challenge. How did you do? So I like a warm drink, especially on these cold nights. So what I did, I'm actually trying to cut down on my sugar, trying to do this sugar-free sundae with Lad Farmer 73. So what I did was I made a concentrate of my green tea, and this is sweetened with honey. So through the week, what I'll do is I'll mix this concentrate with my regular tea, and I'm trying to cut down on my sugar slowly but surely, and on Sundays I'm trying to cut out sugar 100%. So I spent the last week trying to use up these canned soups that I have in my pantries, and this is what we had left, and I will be trying to use these up over the next couple of weeks of these pantry challenge. I have 2 tomato left, some classic vegetable, 1 minestrone, 3 classic vegetables, and this roasted chicken with wild rice soup. So I have these. I'm going to try and work them into some meals in these next coming weeks. So for tonight's dinner, I previously made some rice with the drippings of the ham from Christmas that I had in my freezer. And out of my freezer, I took the pineapples that I had, defrosted them, of course, as you can see. And the ham that I did have in my freezer left over from Christmas, I am trying to take down the foods that I have in my freezer and use them up. So this is going to be tonight's dinner. I'm going to make my version of sweet and sour pork. Now I have some of this sweet and sour sauce that I have, and we are going to do this. So I chopped up the ham into bite-sized pieces, and I'm going to use the drippings left to season the dish. So in my skillet, I'm going to just make sure it's hot first of all, and just put the drippings down in here along with all that fat and everything that came off the ham, and that's going to start my flavor building. So to that, I'm just going to this dish is basically come together so quick and easy. Everything's pretty much done. So I chopped up an onion, and that goes in, and I did also find some pepper in my freezer, which I'm going to use as well. So with that little bit of drippings, I'm going to just saute these onions and bring that flavor into the onions. And then I'm going to add some peppers I found in my freezer, and I'm going to use those in here as well. So now that all my onions and peppers are sauteed, I'm going to add in my pork. And this pork is already cooked, of course, and I'm just basically just warming it through at this point. So I just want to get my meat, make sure that's nice and warm before I add in my sauce. Now I'm adding in, usually I use sauce from scratch, but since I have these in my pantry and I want to use them up, I have a little bit in the fridge, which is what I'm using right now, and I'm going to open that new bottle that you saw earlier, and I'm going to add as much as the sauce I need. And don't forget to rinse out your jar. I am rinsing this out with a bit of that pineapple juice. Make sure you get all the seasonings and flavoring out of the bottom of that. So in goes my pineapples that I had from the freezer. Not very many, but I think it should be okay. I think it should be enough just to add that sweetness factor. So here is tonight's dinner, sweet and sour pork over that rice that I previously made. And I did have it in the freezer and pulled it out. So I've got the bread machine out, and of course I'm making my weekly bread. This time I'm making, actually in this batch, I'm making my sandwich loaf bread, and I'm gonna let this go while I tend to something else. And this is why I love my bread machine. I can just set it on the dough setting and let it go, and it will do its thing, and I could just come back and just shape my bread or my rolls or whatever I'm making that particular day. And that's why I like using this. So I'm going to try this. I saw Rachel from Rachel's UP Adventures make this recipe, so I'm going to try it. Now I have a few different things that she had that I don't have because I'm still doing the pantry challenge and I don't have them in my pantry. And she used Velveeta cheese. I don't think I've ever bought Velveeta cheese, so I'm figuring maybe this would work. I had this in my pantry, and then I had this thing out of my freezer that I used some of. It was the same thing, but I don't think it was double cheese. It was just like regular cheddar cheese. And I'm going to use these two for the cheese portion. And then I don't have any chips in my pantry, but I do have some of these left. I actually have a package and then these two left in here that we got in December after our 2 years were up. We just did like a just like a little stock up haul, and I have these left over from then. So I thought if I fry these up like sort of crispy, and then I could crunch these up for the chip portion. I have black beans. I don't have any chicken because I don't want to dig in my deep freezer because yeah, I don't want to do it. So I have this chicken, so it's already cooked. So what I'm thinking is I'll use the juice over here, because if it was raw chicken putting on top of this, then it will create some juice. So I think I'm just going to use the juice that's in here for that part of it. And then I have a rotel. And then I have some brown rice. I think she used Nor side, but this is what I have. I don't have any Nor rice sides left, but I have these two, and I'm gonna make up this, and we're gonna see how this goes. So it was a Southwest deal, and I also have a taco packet that I can use. These are the seasoning packets I found that I need to use up. So there's like both fajitas, but this one's chili lime steak. Just the regular fajita, which I think should be okay. It's kind of taco adjacent. And then I have this this ranch seasoning. Maybe I'll put this in the rice. I'll put one of these in the rice, and then I'll put the other one in the meat bean portion. So I think that's what I'm gonna do to season up this dish. One other thing I did forget was the sweet corn. So I got a can of corn out, and I think that's all I need for this recipe tonight. So it's time to punch my bread down. As you can see, it is risen quite a bit. So it is ready to be taken out and shaped up. So this would just be turned into a sandwich loaf. So on to tonight's dinner. It's a Fiesta Southwest chicken dish. And I do reserve the water off my vegetables, off my chicken, whatever it is, I reserve, except for potatoes. I don't reserve my water off the potatoes. So I'm just putting it into my jar that I keep in my fridge. So just looking at this is quite a bit of liquid that is coming off my corn, and I do drain my beans because I want to see how much liquid is coming off. So I actually did drain my beans before I put them in here. I want to see, like I said, how much liquid is actually still gonna be in here before I add any liquid. So to the corn, I'm adding in my home canned jar of black beans, and I did drain them, but I did reserve the liquid. So I have the liquid off the corn, and in a separate jar I capped the liquid off the black beans because I want to try and use them up in something else. And I think I will use them up in actually cooking my yellow rice. So in goes my diced rotel, and this has green chilies in it, so it should add a little bit of kick to the dish as well, and we like a little spice every now and then, so this is a nice touch. So in goes my rotel, and I'm just going to stir this up. So now that I have that all stirred up and distributed evenly, I'm going to add my chicken. Now I did drain the chicken. I think there might be enough liquid in the beans, the corn. The rotel had a bit of liquid in it as well. I don't think I'm going to add any liquid to this. I'm just going to break up the chicken and just sprinkle it over the top here. So now that I have my chicken all distributed, I'm going to put in my spices. Now this packet is spicy, and I have the green chilies from the rotel, so that's spicy as well. And I don't want to make this too spicy. So I'm actually going to use just a portion of this and a portion of the regular fajita. So just for good measure, I'm going to add in some of that ranch seasoning as well. Why not? Marry all those flavors together. They're all pretty much the same profile. So I'm going to use a little bit of all three, so I can get a little bit of each flavoring in there. So once I got my seasonings on, I'm going to add my cheese portion. Now this cheese sauce, this one is frozen, and I think that's going to add some liquid to the dish as well. So maybe I won't use any additional liquid in this particular one because my chicken is already cooked, so that's not gonna necessarily produce any liquid, but everything else pretty much is. So I don't think I'm going to add any additional liquid, but I do have something to use that liquid up in. And this is the cheese sauce. As you can see, it looks and smells fine. I did try it, and I knew it was fine because the one that is frozen is pretty much the same date, and I had just used that. So here it is with the cheese all on top. And I am going to add a little bit more spices to the top of it. And once I do that, I'm going to actually cover it with foil. And I don't think this needs as much time as she did hers because pretty much everything's already cooked. But what I'm going to do is I am going to add foil to the top just to make sure it doesn't burn. And I'm going to put it in a 350-degree oven, and I'm going to check it at half an hour because, like I said, my chicken is already cooked, so I don't need to cook my chicken. So I'm just pretty much warming everything up so I can mix it all in together. So into the oven it goes with my sandwich loaf bread, and it's going to cook about the same time at 350 for about a half an hour, and then I'll pull out the dish and check it. So while that's baking, I'm going to make my yellow rice. And why didn't I read the instructions before I started this rice? But anyway, it all turns out in the end. I'm getting my 2 packets of yellow rice in the pot, and I'm using the liquid off my corn and my chicken to cook my rice. And I'm also going to use the water off of my beans because that has nutrients in it as well to make up for the water portion in my rice. So it needed a 1.75 cups for each packet, I believe it was. And I'm just going to get this on the stove and get it cooking. And I decided at the last minute to add in a little bit of that fajita seasonings that I had used in my the meat bean portion, just to sort of marry the flavors together. So here is my bread loaf out of the oven, and I just put some butter on the top just to keep the crust soft, and I'll let that cool on a cooling rack. And here is the rice all cooked. Here is the bean mixture. So at the last minute, I did add some liquid from the chicken on it. I shouldn't have. I should have just left it alone. Follow your first mind. And these are the little pieces of tortillas that I crushed up. They're not as firm or as crunchy as I would have liked, but it's okay. We'll use them. So here is my pantry version of Fiesta Southwest chicken, and it was good. I think it would be better if I had the crunch of those corn chips in them. So maybe the next time I make this, I'll make sure I have some of those corn chips on hand that I can put in there instead of these little fried up tortillas, which were okay. I will say there was a little bit left over for lunch then the following day, and they were more crunchy. So when I served them, they were still hot, so I should have let them cool completely before I added them to our plates. And here is the sandwich loaf that I made, and this will be just for sandwiches or whatever through the week. I usually make 1 to 2 loaves a week, depending on if I make rolls or not. So this will be our bread for the week. So just to finish off the week, we did pizzas, and I like to do these smaller ones because everybody can have everything they want, and they can pretty much make their own pizza. It was a pre-made crust. I usually do make my own crust, and if we want pizza for the rest of the weeks, for this pantry challenge, I will have to make pizza crust because this was the last of the pizza crust I had in my freezer that was store-bought pre-made. So yeah, this is what we had in the last night of this week's pantry challenge. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and click that notification bell to be notified when I upload videos. God bless, and remember, stay safe and keep prepping.